Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Armoury. Welcome to the Arsenal Everton match preview. I am joined with G today. How are you doing, G?
Yeah, man, I'm good, man. I'm good. Busy day at work. Well, work from home, but still busy. Lots of calls, lots of emails. And then obviously when you messaged me earlier, I headed over to the gym for a quick workout, which was a nightmare because it took me, I ended up spending more time traveling there and back because of the buses and cancellations than I did actually in the gym. But I'm here. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling a little bit more confident than the last time I came on a couple of streams. So yeah, all good, man. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. A bit annoyed that this game isn't on TV, but it is what it
Yeah.
is. I was actually looking forward to this when it was rearranged. I thought guaranteed I'd be on TV, but no, not for us. So we've got Everton at the Emirates tomorrow. How are you feeling about that game itself right now?
I mean, I'm feeling a lot more confident than I was. I was very not necessarily down in the dumps, but I wasn't feeling very optimistic about the team's form and the team's performances. Forget results because I think sometimes you can play well, but you don't always get what you deserve. But I felt like since the City game in the FA Cup, we had a couple of poor performances, in my opinion, against teams that we ought to be performing better against teams that we ought to be winning, if we've got ambitions to win the league. So, I mean, the last two games, they've been much needed victories. I mean, the way we came back against Villa was beautiful. I don't think we played our best, particularly in defence, but offensively we were good. But I think most importantly, we showed heart, we showed fight, we showed a real kind of determination to come back because that was a really tricky game. It wasn't going our way for several reasons, and to pull it out and get the 4-2 win, it really was needed. I mean, it felt like it was Villa away, and people will look at other big games and other big performances, but I felt like it was almost season defining in that on a low, we really needed 3 points, and we got those 3 points, and it was crucial because it didn't look that way for a long time in that game. And then obviously we went on to what was a tricky game. I mean, against Leicester, a kind of real rejuvenated Leicester City side, not the Leicester City side from beginning of the season. We saw them absolutely spank Spurs, so they they're turning things around in terms of their season, and I think the way they played pretty much told you everything you need to know about Arsenal this season because they didn't come out and play as expansive as we thought. They were actually quite defensive, and it seemed like their mission was to stop us and stifle us from scoring, which made it a really tricky game. But we got the 3 points. Probably should have been a lot more, I would say, convincing than it was, given some dodgy decisions and not so, not so clinical up top. But yeah, going into this game now against Everton, I think we're off the back of two very good wins against two decent sides in the league. So we've somewhat recovered from what we can only call a seasonal blip. We haven't had many of those, so they don't feel good. So I am feeling confident, and I think we really do owe Everton one. I mean, the way they played and the new manager bounce, which I'm not fond of, in terms of I kind of feel like it's an excuse. I just feel like we weren't at our game on the day, but I feel like we owe them one. I feel like we really they owe the fans, they owe themselves a top performance. So we can we're playing at home. Everton, regardless of Daesh going in there and picking up some results, they're still a poor side. They're going to struggle to get any kind of respectable finish in this league table. So we need to, we really need to go at them, and just really batter them. I don't really want us to like scrape a 1-0 or a 2-0. I want us to absolutely go to town on them. I really do, because I think they were very clever the way they played the game. Like, we were below par, don't get me wrong, but they were very clever the way they played the game. Stop start. They were very physical in the midfield area. Obviously, Daesh had got that whole squad absolutely pumped for that match, as he does every time he brings a side to play in Arsenal, whether it's home and away. So I think we owe it to ourselves as Arsenal Football Club to really put on a show tomorrow night, because, yeah, We don't want. There's this whole Dyche thing, isn't there? That it's a thing. Like it's a narrative. Some people say it's a narrative, it's an excuse, but he seems to have something over us or about us. So I think we need to just dismantle that myth and just absolutely pump them tomorrow night about 4 or 5-0. That's what I'm hoping for. But I reckon it will be a squeaky one. So
don't say nothing. Yeah, don't say
yeah.
nothing yet until later.
Sorry, I know I rambled on. Yeah, in a nutshell, I'm feeling confident that we can win the game because it's at home. But I'm very much of the mindset right now of not getting too carried away and just taking every game, game by game, because as we know, there are just no easy games in the Premier League. And I wouldn't be surprised if Everton come out and play very similar to the way they played against us in the first game. It's up to us to turn up and play the way we know we can. And I think if we do that, then we should be feeling confident going into this game.
Well, my question was going to be, do you think it's going to be a hindrance that we only just played him recently and only just been defeated, or do you think it's actually going to be an advantage to us?
No, I think it's an advantage. I think like any kind of competitive sport, when you lose, a real competitor wants to get back out there as soon as possible and put that wrong right. That's how I felt in any type of sport or competitive sport that I played at whatever level. As soon as I lost, I know there is time when you have to kind of sit back, reflect, analyze. That's really important in sport because sometimes similarly to like boxing, you can lose a bout and then jump straight in for the rematch without actually reflecting on your performance, and you get beat again. But I think there's enough time that has passed between the first game to this second game, and we have seen a massive improvement in terms of performances, particularly against Villa and Leicester, like I mentioned. So I think it's perfect timing to play them again at home in front of the Emirates crowd with a bit more confidence behind us. Players coming back from injuries. So yeah, I think it's perfect. I don't think it's going to be a hindrance at all. And hindrance wise, I mean, if we're allowing this game to be a hindrance, then mentally we're not in the right shape really. Because I think the guys should be absolutely biting, to get out there and put that performance right in terms of how they performed against Everton in the first league game.
Fair enough. Before we get into the previous games against Everton, which I always do anyway, I just want to big up to a Monday. Hope you're doing well. Evening, guys. As our total rival, he's saying it. I am tuned in to find any chinks in your armory. I love what you did there. Big up to Mars saying hi to both of us. I wish I could say that Mikel Arteta should do and what we'll do, or you guys do lineups with what you want more. So, well, I always ask for what you guys want. I don't. This is not guess Mikel Arteta's formation or squad. To be fair, is pretty easy to do. I want us to just open our minds, and there is 5 lineups. Even though Tony did say in our WhatsApp group, what did he say to us? That there will be no more other than that. I've got 5, so I'm happy with myself. People can open their minds, and some people think differently, like resting certain players, giving players an opportunity. We're at home. This is a big difference. We're at home, and we do have Bournemouth at home at the weekend as well. So it does make sense. And to be fair, the fixture's going to come thick and fast now, especially if we want a Europa League triumph at the end of this. No weakness. Sorry, I forgot that, Moss. No weakness for either the old 90s dominant forces or the Arsenal and the Man United. We're both back. Luke would like us to smash him. Been a while since we slapped a team. Very, very true. It's difficult to beat a team twice within a few weeks. I think. I can't see what Sean Dyche is going to come and just do his typical Sean Dyche football against us. But I will say this categorically, I do love the way that he does stuff. He knows exactly what he's got. He does it. I have to speak up to him. Yeah.
He plays to the team manager's strengths.
Yeah.
It's that simple. Like so many times, we've seen teams come up from the Championship and so forth, and we've enjoyed expansive football, but at some point they get found out. And in this league, you've got to be competitive. You've got to be, strong defensively. And we've seen teams come up from the Championship and not last in the Premier League because they can't find a way to stop leaking goals or conceding goals. They don't seem to find a way. They might play attractive football, but that kind of competitiveness, man for man, 11 against 11, he just seems to get the best out of the teams he manages. It's that simple. Like, you're not going to get, tiki-taka, Barcelona, prime Barcelona football, but that's not why Everton hired him. Let's face it, Everton hired him so they can maintain their status in the Premier League. If once that's achieved, he would have done his job.
Yeah. What I will say, I do this, and this is kind of what I work on. The manager that you have tends to be the type of player he was, and Sean 100%. Dyche was a non-nonsense centre back, tough player to play against. Yeah. He's a ginger as well, so trust me, he's got a fiery temper. But yeah, he's honest. I don't like what anyone says about him and Burnley. I think what he did at Burnley was an incredible job. Incredible. And Vincent Kompany's now doing it now. So big up to Vincent Kompany. Yeah. And again, centre back.
Don't get me wrong, Vincent Kompany is doing a phenomenal job at Burnley, and he is, like, literally. I actually keep an eye on them now. I don't know why, because I've never really liked Burnley, and I wasn't a massive fan of Vincent Kompany because good player, don't get me wrong, great player. Yeah. Obviously played for City at the height of City success. But I'm just intrigued, and I'm intrigued because they're going to come up. In my opinion, they're gonna run away with the Championship. I think I'm just intrigued how he performs once they're in the Premier League, because I was kind of hoping that they would do a job on United when they played. I think it was in the Carabao Cup. Yeah. And they got somewhat found out. I mean, I think they lost like 3-0 or 3-1 or something like that. And I watched the vast majority of that game. And that's kind of goes back to what I was saying about Dyche, is that, he does what he does very well is he gets the best out of his players. He makes them competitive. He makes them difficult to beat. And I mean, what he did at Burnley was absolutely phenomenal in terms of, like, keeping them in the Premier League. So the real test for me, don't get me wrong, I'm not taking away anything from Kompany, but the real test for me will be when he comes into the Premier League. How is he going to be able to adapt their style of play to play the way they love to play football, that they can somewhat get away with in the Championship? Because if you play like that in the Premier League, the level of competitor is very different. So they could come up, play really attractive football, but then lose games, 7-6. So, it's going to be a good test, and I am intrigued just to see how he does with Burnley once they get promoted.
Yeah, Burnley's one of the shirts I do actually have because I do follow Burnley myself.
They're playing amazing football in the Championship.
Yeah,
like,
I've loved them.
That's what I like about watching them, because I watch their highlights and stuff.
Yeah,
I haven't sat down and watched a full 90, but apart from the United game, but everybody seems to look at the Championship and just think, really hard tackles, long ball, blah, 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 blah. But if you watch Burnley play, I mean, they play some good stuff. I'm just intrigued how he manages to adapt that when they get promoted, because it's not going to be nowhere near as easy, I don't think.
No. I was getting to these last two comments before we get into the fixtures. I was thinking he should bring back KT and Ozzy to Xhaka spot and party in Georgie. Got to try and work all this out. And Eddie back in, save Tross off bench, start him versus Bournemouth. Lisbon to focus 2 for sure and plan out, maybe use Tross versus Moss. If anyone can understand that, then bravo. I kind of get what you're on about and kind of don't. I didn't ask it, to be honest. The reason I didn't ask anyone to do the squads today is Tony started it yesterday. I didn't have much time today, so I just cracked on with what I was given. I spoke to a few other people to get some fresh ideas because, to be honest, the Armoury lot just go for the same squads. I'll be perfectly honest. Don't you, G? Yeah, big up to Luca.
I'm a simple man. I keep it simple,
You'll see when I put the slides up. You'll see the Armoury lads against the other ones I ask. Big up to Brenny. Lovely guy. Yes, right. So previous fixtures. I'm going to kind of ignore the last one because that was like the end of the season, pretty much, wasn't it? 5-1 win. kind of everyone gave up. That's what happens. But the other ones are important. They've only beaten us once in 10. So, it's good ground for us.
Yeah.
We score plenty of goals.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get into the squads. Now, the first one, big up to Mehmet and James. I know Tony wasn't happy about this because it's an experiment. However, I think 2 people went for an experiment, to be honest. So this would be interesting. Right. So we've got Ramsdale in goal, Ben White, Saliba, Gabriel, Sinchenko, Jorginho as a DM, Odegaard, Partey as the number 8, Saka, Trossard, Martinelli. What do you think of that squad?
Yeah, I mean, Ramsdale and the back 4, they pick themselves. I think the front 3 right now makes a lot of sense as well. Given I think Eddie's played a lot of games in Gabriel Jesus' absence, and we obviously understood that he had a bit of a slight knock. So I think Trossard came in, and I think did brilliantly well. I'm so gutted that he didn't get that goal. Honestly, I was so gutted. But yeah, for me, the goalkeeper, the back 4, and the front 3 makes a lot of sense. I don't think anybody would bat an eyelid if you saw that, or if Mikel Arteta chose that. Odegaard, he's our playmaker, number 10, captain, although he wasn't last game. Interesting Partey in the number 8. I mean, this is an idea that I've heard a lot recently from Gooners, online, in group chats, WhatsApps, etc. I'd be curious to see it. I'm not sure how it would work. I'm kind of 50-50. I'm a bit on the fence. I think Partey has the ability to play in the number 8 role, based on the fact that Xhaka has the ability to play in the number 8 role. It's not a position I often see Partey, if I'm honest. At Atletico Madrid, even for Ghana, it's not particularly a position I'm familiar with him playing. But for me, he's technically very good. I would go as far as to say technically he's better than Xhaka, in my opinion. A lot of the times, the stuff that he does on the ball and off the ball, in terms of his technical ability, kind of leaves me speechless. Like, I think we're a much better team when he's on song. Not necessarily starting, because sometimes he has poor games, but when he's on song, we tick differently. We really, really do. So I think him in a more advanced position, I think he can be more effective than Xhaka in a number 8 role. And it might be unpopular because I think Xhaka's done a very good job in that number 8 role this season. But I do think there are times, particularly against a low block and in recent weeks, where the fan base may have seen just some of the limitations. And that is just natural. Xhaka's a good player. He's performed very well this season. He's been very consistent, but he will have limitations to his game. There are players that can play in that number 8 role that are quicker, that can turn, that can pick out a quicker pass, make better offensive decisions. It's just the name of the game. So it will be interesting. I mean, Jorginho's come in and done absolutely brilliantly. He's been really unlucky that he came in and we suffered, I think, 2 or 3 defeats. But even in those games, arguably, he was our best player. And I think he's just kind of pushed on from there. He controls the tempo of the game. I mean, he doesn't really put a pass wrong. The passes that he distributes to the front players, sometimes it just leaves you like mouth-watering passes. I was very critical when we signed him. And I have to say, like, don't get me wrong, I still have certain reservations about the way we do our business in the transfer market and so forth. However, we are a much stronger side with Jorginho in the team. Having missed out on other targets and not signed anybody, we would have been significantly weaker. I think he's come in. I think he's got great experience. He's got great ability. And I think he's going to be a real asset to Arsenal Football Club short term, definitely. I mean, like, for the rest of this season, in the lead, the lead up to the Premier League, see what happens there. And even next season, I think he's going to be a key player. So, yeah, it's an interesting lineup from Mehmet and James. I'm not completely against Partey being in the number 8 role. I can't see Arteta doing it. I mean, we're not even guaranteed that he'll even be part of the squad after missing out completely on the last 2 games. But intrigued by this, but I'm on the fence. But I'd love to see it, just to see what it would be like.
Right. Before I put the next one up, I'm just going to have to explain it because Gumza wanted to do a different formation to give us the different talking points. However, I managed to have enough team to around me to have lovely ideas. So what I have done his own one, but he did actually go with yours as well, G. So I've just got to.
Okay.
This is Gumza's one for talking about. But Gumza would have actually gone with your team. So we'll go into your team in a minute. So I don't know how that's different to yours. I'm just trying to look. Oh, Tommy in for white because you went for white.
Yeah.
Party Xhaka. I think that's pretty. Oh no, Eddie in for Trossard. Oh, and Trossard's on the right, resting Saka. There we go. Right. So what do you think of that one?
Yeah, Ramsdale is what it is. Number one, there's no point even discussing why he's in the team. Saliba, Gabriel, Zinchenko for me, yeah, they were three of my back four. Tomiyasu, look, between Ben White and Tomiyasu, it just is what it is. It's one of those things where, I mean, you wake up out of bed and you think, okay, I'll give Tommy a game. You know what? I might give Ben White a game. It's hard to choose. It's hard to choose for me between these two players. Yes, people might nitpick and talk about mistakes and stuff like that, but they're both quality players. And I don't think there are any Arsenal fans, as shown when he made the mistake, that are particularly unhappy with Tommy or Ben White playing. So it's just a preference thing. And I do think, we probably do need to rotate our squad a little bit more, particularly in the areas where we can rotate our squad. And I think the right back position is an area we can. I don't think Tommy's probably had enough game time this season, but I think a lot of that's just, you want to build consistency, you want to build a back four, and plus, how do you drop a player when they're playing so well? And Ben White has, for the vast majority of the season, played so well. I think you've seen Tommy starting to come into the fold because there has been a couple of slight drop-offs in terms of Ben White's performance, which will happen, over the course of 50, 60 games in a season. So yeah, I wouldn't be unhappy with seeing Tommy in there. Partey, for me, if he's fit, goes into that DM position. As amazing as Jorginho's been, I think a fit, firing Partey will always trump most players in that position in world football for me. Like I said, I think when Partey's on song, we tick different. We just do. He's head and shoulders, he just oozes quality. He stands out. So a fit firing Partey for me does play. So I think that makes perfect sense. Putting him in there. Odegaard, like I said, he's the guy that pulls the strings. He's our wizard in that kind of number 10 role. Xhaka for me, I feel like he deserves his place still. I know. I mean, I want to see more of Vieira. I do. But I'm not even sure Arteta or the fan base even know where his best position is going to be right now. I think people talk about his ability to play out wide. I don't like it in terms of what I've seen. The number 10 role as rotation for Odegaard. Again, I can see that. I mean, he's creative. But then I've seen him in the 8 and he looks good. Got a bit more in his locker offensively, what I was talking about over Xhaka. So yeah, but for me, I think it makes sense to play Xhaka. He's played the vast majority of the season. So one thing about Xhaka is he just doesn't get injured. And he very, very rarely looks fatigued. So yeah, it makes perfect sense. Martinelli, I mean, went for a little bit of a blip, but I think, the Trossard form has maybe sparked a little bit of life back into him, signing his contract and stuff like that. He's had obviously a couple of goals recently. Key goal the other day became the winning goal against Leicester, so that was huge. He's gone for Eddie and Trossard. I went for Trossard in the middle. I mean, it's a difficult one. Just to kind of maybe not talk about them two players so much, but resting Saka. Not for me. Not for me.
Why not?
2 points. 2 points ahead in the title race with a game in hand. I can't afford to rest Starboy yet. I just can't. For me, he has been the most consistent player at Arsenal for the last 3 to 4 seasons. And he just does it. Even when he doesn't play well, he contributes. So not for me. This wouldn't be the game to rest him. Like I said, I think we had a very poor performance against Everton. I think the boys need to go out there and make that wrong right. And it wouldn't be for me. It wouldn't be the game to rest him. I potentially would be tempted to rest him maybe against Bournemouth at the weekend, but not this game. But I don't know. Again, I know I'm not really helping you there. But for me, you know what it is with Saka is I do understand the rotation and I do understand the need to rest him. But I honestly feel that we don't necessarily have it in our squad to rest him. And I know Trossard can play on the right, although very rarely does.
Yeah.
Even if you look at his days at Brighton, very rarely played on the right. And I'm just not sure at this point in the season, with how vital every single 3 points are, you're going to see Mikel Arteta or any Arsenal fan, obviously Gumza, resting Saka and playing Trossard there. I mean, look, if he does it, I'm not gonna have a meltdown on the timeline about it. Trossard's a quality player. One could argue that Martinelli deserves, his start. He seems to have a spring in his step. Eddie's done, I think, a phenomenal job since Gabriel Jesus has been out, and Trossard is playing really good football. Like, he doesn't really deserve to be dropped. So it might be the right time to actually, say Saka, sit down, for a couple of games, and let's see if these three guys can do it. So I wouldn't do it, but I understand where Gums is coming from in terms of his logic.
Okay. Sorry, that last comment got me because everybody's concern is FPL. And I'm like, Phil, seriously. Hang on, where is he? Where's his
I can't remember the last time I checked it, man.
Phil is worried because he's captained him this week. And what I will say is Saka is only in 2 of the 5 squads tonight. So there is quite a consensus about maybe resting him. I want to get into the comments quickly, so I'm going to take this screen down because they are starting to build up. We have still got 3 teams to go for, but the comments are just building up really quickly. Big up to BX Gunner 81. Let's hopefully go out and dismantle Everton. Let's hope so too. Big up to DWTT. Let's try and miss some of that out because they're all saying hello to each other, which is lovely. Big up to James. Already done your team, mate. Vieira's best position is either left centre midfielder or right centre midfielder. Very, very true. But I do also believe he can play an AM, but obviously we don't do an attacking midfielder, so that's fine. Big up, though, and everyone in chat. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Trying to miss some of the ones that don't really regard us. Saka does not rest, but potential for 5 points clear. Best 11. Hashtag Saka play. If that's a hashtag on Twitter, like one of these trending things, I'm going to lose my head. Like, seriously. And Moss, I just don't want to say, I think that's tomorrow, mate. Not tonight. I think it's tomorrow. I'm pretty sure
you got the argument, though, innit? It's like, I understand the logic behind it, but can you imagine resting Saka and we drop points? Imagine the fan base. Even Gums would be like, "Nah, man, he should have started Saka."
Oh, crikey, look at this. A Saka FPL needed to. Look, I don't care about FPL. When I watch Arsenal, I don't go, "Oh, I need him to come off," or "I need him to come on." Honestly, just forget about the FPL. Oh, it does my head in. Every time I do a watch along, it's FPL chatting in the comment. I'm like, stop. Just enjoy the football. Right, let's get on to, I think it should be your team now. So there we go. I've put Gumza in there as well. Gumza, if you're watching, I've put you twice because you did say this team, but you did create the other one. So big up to Luke, Brenny, Tony, G, Gumza, and Josh has actually agreed with you this time. So G, I'll leave it down to you because it's your team, mate.
Yeah, man. Ramsdale number 1, like I said, there's no more needs to be said on that. England's number 1. Obviously we're playing against Pickford, so that's going to be interesting. White for me, I think he's been our most consistent and best performing right back out of the 2. He's been practically undroppable, apart from a slight blip in form, past couple of weeks. Saliba and Gabriel come under a lot of stick from certain sections of the Arsenal fan base, despite, having second or third best defense in the league. I'm seeing a lot of stats about, errors leading to goals and stuff. And I think it's just important to remind Gooners of just, how often, how many games they've actually played together as a partnership. You know, it hasn't been a huge amount of time that they've played together. They're still building, you know, those bonds and those relationships, and they're both babies in terms of the centre backs. I think they're absolutely phenomenal, and I think those two are two of the first names on the team sheet for Arteta. I don't even think it's a question. I mean, although I saw clips of Kivior last night, and he looks an absolute baller. That I will say. So yeah, maybe that maybe the selection will become maybe a little bit more difficult as we move forward. Because yeah, geez, he left me like for in a few moments, like with some of the passes he was picking out. Zinchenko's very similar to Partey for me in that when he ticks, we tick. It's one of those things, like when he's on song, we tick different. You know, when Zinchenko's doing Zinchenko stuff, we're just a different team. We play football from a different planet. So he's so vital. And I know obviously his selection is causing murmurs about the future of KT. And it's difficult. And I think these are the problems we've wanted to have for a long time. And these are the problems we're going to have, because if players are performing, it's going to mean other players are going to not be able to necessarily play. But for me, as much as I love KT, Zinchenko, for me, is completely... He came into the club and, you know, KT was like a real favourite of mine, still is. But based on performances and the way we play in terms of the inverted left back, there's only one choice. I think KT is a good option to have on the bench. He's a little bit more direct, you know, goes past the winger, etc., to the byline, throwing across. But yeah, the way we play and the way we tick, it's always going to be Zinchenko for me. Partey, like I've said, I've given him enough, applause this show already. Absolute gem of a midfielder. Just so strong, so dominant, and just so skillful. He's got all the attributes to be considered one of the best DMs in the Premier League, if not world football. If he's fit and firing, he plays, because we tick different when he does. Odegaard, again, the maestro. Love Odegaard. I think it's really good, like when you get a player like Odegaard, because when he came to the club again, I wasn't overly thrilled with his loan spell at the club. I was definitely in the camp of Maddison over Odegaard at the time, but he's one player that's just really grown on me. I was never toxic towards Odegaard, but I just wanted him to kind of prove me wrong, and he really has this season. And there are times when I hear the fan base saying, "Oh, he goes missing in big games and stuff." I mean, look at his stats. His stats are immense in terms of this season, and there are going to be times when he's not going to play as well. I mean, that's just football. I don't think there's a single player in this 11 that has played brilliantly every single game. I don't think you can pick one. I don't think you could pick a player like that in the entire Premier League, even including the Man City side. So I think sometimes we are very harsh on Odegaard. I think I think what he's massively done is we wanted goals. He's contributed. He's contributing. One of the big criticisms for Odegaard was add goals to your game.
Yeah,
he's doing that, and he's doing that this season. So come on, give him some slack, man. Xhaka, like I said, had a phenomenal season. For me, he is our number 8. People might talk about Partey going there and Trossard maybe dropping in there, or ESR coming back. But at present, he's the man that Arteta picked, and he's been consistent and he's performed. Very few poor performances or below par performances this season. Even when we've played bad as a team and not performed, he's kind of generally played well. And what I really like about him is that he seems to have really got control over the discipline side of his game. And I think that was one of the reasons why a lot of the sections of the Arsenal fan base disliked him. I don't think it was generally because of his ability and the way he played football. It's just that in big moments, in big games, he lost his head. And that often resulted in costing us points or goals. That seems to have literally just eradicated from his game. And I think that's why the fan base has done a 360 on him. So for me, he's the top man in that number 8 position. We've got to give him credit where credit's due. And I can't see Arteta, maybe next season, maybe something will evolve there, but I can't see Arteta taking him out the side in that position often. I think you might see rotation, but I think in the vast majority of games, I think that's where you're going to see Xhaka play. I've gone with a front three of Saka. I've explained already why I'm not resting my star boy. We're at the top, but we're not sitting comfortably. And while we're not sitting comfortably, I can't afford to rest Saka. Obviously, I don't know the ins and outs. I don't see them train. I don't speak to the physio, the coaches, etc., etc. And I don't have a relationship with Saka. I'm sure if Saka's fit and he's ready to play and he wants to play, he plays. If he doesn't, they'll have those conversations. And Arteta will know how to manage Saka and fatigue and so forth. So I'm confident if he plays, he's ready. That's all I can say. But for me, I can only go by what I know. And my star boy very, very, very rarely fails to deliver. So he's starting in my 11 in a game that I really want to win, because we've not lost many games this season. So the Everton loss hurt. So I really want us to get one over them this time, especially at home. Martinelli, like I said, I've seen a bit of a rejuvenated Martinelli in the last couple of games, which has been nice. So I would pick him on the left-hand side. Given Eddie's played so many games in Gabriel Jesus' absence, and then we even learned that he had a bit of a knock, I would play Trossard there as he did, as Mikel Arteta did against Leicester. I think Trossard is proving what a phenomenal buy, he has been. Just his ability to play left, his ability to play right, but his ability to play as that false nine. I think he offers us something different. We know what Everton are going to do. We've spoken about it. We've spoken about Dyche. And I think Trossard will be more of an effective player as the false nine rather than an out-and-out number 9, which Eddie is. So that's why I would go for that 3. I think Trossard will be far more effective against a low block, which is what Everton will do. So yeah, he's the reason why I would go with him through the middle. So yeah.
Okay. I'm going to get through some comments because I know what's coming up. I know the next 2 squads. And G's going to have an issue with it. I know this anyway. So I'm going to get into some comments. Big up to BX Got hi, Mice. I think Trossard is a 10 and can be devastating behind a striker. Yep. I've sorted your problem out with Mars. I think Trossard at 9 a lot because he plays that quiet role similar to Jesus in the sense he drops. Yep. Yeah, that's what we miss from Eddie's game. I'm not saying Eddie's a bad player. Eddie doesn't have that about his game, and that's fine. Some players just don't. It's absolutely fine. James agreeing with you there. Good news of Saliba wanting to stay. I'm also mouth-watering at Kavir. Hope we can get an inverted right back. I actually saw one play for Celtic the other day, and I was quite impressed by him. Alistair Johnston. So, James, if you could start studying him, I actually like him. And Moss, you'll be happy because he's Canadian. Because he actually was an inverted right back against Rangers. And I know it's against Rangers and everyone can say, it's only Scottish. But honestly, you can see the talent in him and he's young. So he's got the development. Big up to James for saying that. BX Gunner, you might be interested in what's coming up next then. I have played some... Sorry. Very good, James. Arteta has a lot of it. Yep, he does. Won't be tomorrow. Bobby, the game is tomorrow. Yeah. Well, to be honest, it's because I spoke to stuff about other stuff. This lineup will be explosive at home. Okay, I'm on it. Thank you very much, James. On you, own scout. He is honestly he's good at it. Right. Okay, so this is what Carlos, Tim, and Jack. So you can't just pick on one person here. They all agree to this. Don't know why. I don't know why. They all agreed. And I was wondering what they had to drink or anything. I'm like, okay, it's your team. They did explain to me, and I kind of understood. It's home. We possibly could rest a few because they have faith. They are very much like me. I have faith in the squad, not the first 11. I'm a squad man. I'm not a first 11 man. I kind of get it, but I think that one is a little bit weaker. There is one coming up next, which I prefer, but this one I think is too weak, personally. G?
Yeah. First of all, we're not going to see this lineup tomorrow night.
Oh no.
We're just not. I think this is too many changes to a first team. And the last time we did something like this, 6 or 7 changes, we lost to City. In a game where Everton and Daesh are going to be very competitive, very physical. Yeah, for me, the back four is a worry because we've got 3 changes in the back four, and I mean,
okay. Their thinking of that was Calvert-Lewin with Rob Holding. They did explain that to me, and I did kind of understand that.
I get that to a certain extent, but I think Saliba and Gabriel have played against better strikers than Calvert-Lewin this season. And I know, obviously, Saliba struggled against Ivan Toney. But Calvin Lewin this season is no Ivan Toney. Like he just isn't.
He's injured, so
yeah. So for me, yeah, I mean the Tommy one I have no issue with. The Holding one, I do, and the KT one. I mean, if we played KT, yeah, you know what it is? It's not dreadful, the back four, but it's very different to what we used to, and it's very different to the back four that's been performing. So I can't personally see it. I mean, if KT played, I'd be happy for him because he needs game time. He just wouldn't be my preferred choice. Tomiyasu, same. I'd be happy for Tommy to play, but he wouldn't be my preferred choice. Playing Holding in this game for me doesn't make any sense at all. Unless there is like an injury or if one of the players are feeling fatigued. I mean, I don't have anything against Holding, but Arteta has generally picks, the players that he most trusts. And we have seen Holding play, but it's been very deliberate and very strategic when he has played Holding. So if he does play Holding, then by all means, there's a plan. There's something behind it, barring an injury or whatever. But yeah, the back four with 3 changes when we've had such a consistent back four, that does concern me. Partey in the middle, yeah, Odegaard. Jorginho, I mean, I don't see why Jorginho doesn't have the ability to play there. I mean, he can play there, in the midfield. But yeah, I mean, with Jorginho, yeah, it is what it is. I mean, yeah, seeing him play in the number 8, that wouldn't raise too many eyebrows for me if I saw that the 3 midfield there. With the front 3, yeah, that's a problem for me. Vieira, I've seen Vieira play out wide in a couple of games, and for me, he doesn't look convincing. I think he lacks the pace to be an out winger in the Premier League, and the physicality. If you've got teams being able to double up and take Saka out the game, you ain't got much hope of putting Fabio Vieira on the wing and getting much luck. Yes, he can come inside. Yes, he's a tricky player, but just not for me. I definitely see his role in this Arsenal team centrally. I think he will be absolutely ineffective out wide against Everton, particularly a team like Everton that are not going to give him much space at all or time on the ball. Trossard, I agree, as a false 9, it could really, really work. I think we've seen it work against Leicester. I want it to continue. Nelson, my only issue with Nelson is I just don't know how fit he is to start a game. I don't have a problem with Nelson starting. I do think, like what you said, we do have to trust the squad. But it's like, do we pick Nelson in the expense of Saka, in the expense of Martinelli? I know before his injury, like he was in good form, very good form. And he was starting to put some really good performances together. Everyone talks about the Nottingham Forest, but even beyond that, he was playing really, really well. And then, unluckily, again in this guy's career, he got an injury. So I'm keen for Nelson to be fit and see him play again, because I think he was giving us a problem and giving us competition and rotational options that we didn't actually think we would have with Nelson going into the season. So if he's fit and ready, by all means, give him a run out, or maybe even bringing him on a little bit later in the game if we've hopefully dispatched of Everton, got a couple of goals lead. So yeah, it wouldn't be my team of choice. Particularly, I'm sorry, Tony, but yeah, the holding starting at centre back for me is the two massive red flags for me in this side is, well, three red flags is holding at centre back. I need to have some real logic and rationale as to why you drop Saliba to play him at this point, because I do think, regardless of bias aside, I think Saliba is levels above him in terms of ability and the way we play football. KT is also a red flag, and that's not so much a disrespect to him and his ability, but I feel if KT plays, we're going to play completely different to the way we've been playing all season, because he's not going to be able to do the inverted left back role that Zinchenko does. And are we going to play differently against a team that we really struggled against? I'm not sure. I don't think the problem was how we played. It was the level of our performance was the problem. Not so much, our tactics, because they've worked pretty much all season. And the third red flag for me is Fabio Vieira out wide. I think he will get absolutely bullied and nullified in this game. I do. I've not been impressed with him out wide at all.
Right. I'm going to try and take two of those red flags away, because I know the next team.
Okay.
Big up to Nicholas and Miguel for doing this. Right. How's this one? We've still got Nelson. Fabio's been moved, but they have rested Odegaard.
Yeah. I can work with this. I can work with this.
I actually quite like this one. I do actually get their logic again.
I can work with this. Like,
the thing is,
holding bench, so I'm all right.
Yeah. The fact is, Nelson was on the bench for the last game, so he must be fit enough to be able to play. And even if we just give him the first half of the game and then take him off and bring on Martinelli.
And this is it. And we can bring on Martinelli. We could flip Trossard to the left and bring Saka on the right. So yeah, I can live with this. Obviously, Ramsdale in goal, the back four for me. Like I said, with KT, I would be thrilled for him to get a game. My only thing is that where we've been playing so well all season in a certain way, I genuinely can't see him getting many more games. I generally can't see him getting many more games between now and the end of the season. Jorginho in that role, like, he's done a phenomenal job in Partey's absence. Fabio Vieira, for me, that's it. He plays either LCM or right CM. He either plays in the Odegaard role or the Xhaka role. So seeing him in either is fine with me. Partey, I told you I'm a bit on the fence. So I'd love to see it. I don't think we try it tomorrow, but I'd love to see it at some stage this season. But he's got to be fit, ultimately, first and foremost. Trossard on the right, I'm open to it. I'm very much open to it. I've just not seen a lot of it. I've not seen it for Brighton. I've not seen it for Belgium. I've not seen it at Arsenal since we've joined. I know he can play there, and I've seen him play there, but it's like a rarity. You don't often see it. So, but hey, tonight, tomorrow night's game could be the game to try it out. And Nketiah, I think if he starts, I don't think anybody will bat an eyelid. I think he has played very well in Gabriel Jesus' absence. It'd be nice for him to start in that he's gone a few games without a goal. So it'd be nice for him to kind of get back on the score sheet. We've got obviously Trossard's come into the false nine, played really well, got an absolute screamer, chalked off. But then you've also got the pictures emerging tonight of Jesus, coming back. So it'd be nice for Eddie to get back into the goals because I think once Jesus is fit and ready, I think his game time will be very limited once again. So it'd be good for him to get a few goals under his belt, boost his confidence up again. Because that's what you want, innit? You want Jesus to come back and Eddie to be firing. So you've got a good problem to have. You don't want it to be like Eddie's not scored in 6, 7, 8 games, and then it's just Jesus walks back into the side. You want to have those problems up top. And like I said, Nelson, for me, he'd hit a really rich vein of form before he got injured. And I kind of felt like, this was the moment. And then he got that blimmin' injury. But I'd be happy I'd be happy to see him start as long as he's fit and healthy. Yeah, pop him in there. So yeah, I can live with this team, man. I can live with this team because of one certain absence. I'm joking, Tony.
Right, let's get into comments.
I'm sorry, Tony. I can see up the comments.
Tony's not happy. A team with Holding is a win. Bournemouth quick turnaround. Holdino is holding. Mosh, you keep making me say it's Holding, right? Is our closer boy. Got it. Big up to David's Amaruko. Thanks, coaches, for the work you've done. Plus, stakeholders only have one observation. Fatigue has developed in some players. Give them time to rest. I think that's kind of where the last two teams were trying to think about resting some of them. One of them, I'm pretty sure G was about to explode, but the second one calmed him down a little bit. But to be fair to Carlos, Tim, and Jack, they did sit down for quite a while and did this. They obviously chatted to each other.
That's what I mean. Everybody's got their rationale in it. Do you know what I mean?
Two of them are football. They work within football. One is a lawyer, so and knows nothing about football. So yeah, the football people, they need to kind of understand what they're doing. Big up. Yes, Luke is going to watch the game tomorrow, so I hope you have a good game, because he was going to go to the one that was cancelled, and he's managed to get a ticket for obviously the rescheduled one. So I hope you have a very good time, Luke. If Holding starts, we are holding an L to Everton. I hope Tony saw that.
Yeah, Tony's going to start removing mans from group chats and all sorts of that.
You've just made Must the happiest Canadian for liking that. He's so good. I was really impressed with him. Will Jesus play tomorrow? I very much doubt. I think we might see him on the bench next week against Sporting. That's what I'm kind of expecting. If not, maybe against Fulham on the bench, but we'll see. Well, Holding gets a vote of confidence from me.
It's all love, man. It's all love, Tony.
Definitely a no for Nelson. He's talking about City, so I'm not even going to bother doing that. Southgate stream centre-back partnership is probably Holding and Maguire.
You see what he said there as well? James is
getting suspended. Okay, right. I was about to call you Granville then. G.
It's all good, bro.
The thing is, when I think of Granville, I think of open all hours.
Trust me. You see, when I worked in a betting shop, I worked in the Ladbroke shop for about 6 months. That was it. That's what they called me. They called me open all hours or all hours. I was not. They didn't call me anything else. I was like, oh, you're right, all hours.
Yeah.
So
I'm a big Davy Jason fan, so I think of Granville. I think of open all hours. So
yeah,
it's challenge time and it's G's time to do it. Let's do this. Okay, so as Arsenal are the home team, we have the bonus of the formation. So it's our normal formation. Obviously, it's 5 from the Arsenal, 5 from Everton, 6 for the Arsenal. G, let's start with the Everton players, please. So your first Everton player.
So
please.
I can't afford to have 5 outfield players, so I'm going to pick Jordan Pickford in goal. Might be a bit controversial, but
always makes me think of Jurassic Park. I don't know why. Right, next one, please, mate.
Next one is I'm going to go with Coleman at right back.
Seamus. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm going to go with Tarkowski in the left centre back position.
Left centre back. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I'm going to go with Onana in the number 8 position.
Number 8.
Yep.
I'll do Onana. Okay. And your 5th and final Everton player, please.
Probably again a bit controversial, but I'm going to go with Damari Gray for the left-sided forward.
Okay. This could be interesting to try. Oh no, let's come straight up. Look at that. Awesome. Right, so there you 5. Like, let's do the Arsenal then. So your final centre back will be who?
Saliba, not holding.
I'm going to guess left back is going to be Sin.
Zinchenko for me, yeah.
I'm just going to assume that's Partey.
Partey, yeah.
And I'm going to assume that's Odegaard.
Yep.
I'm kind of getting everyone's favourites now. Right.
Jesus through the middle.
Yeah. And I'm going to guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're putting Rob Holding on the right wing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I've got to say his name for you, Tony. Right. That, to be fair, is a good squad. Right. So we've got Pickford in goal, Coleman, Saliba, Tarkowski, Zinchenko, Partey, Onana, Odegaard, Saka, Jesus, and Damari Gray. For me, nothing wrong with that, to be honest. Tarkowski, he is what he is. Good centre back. Coleman, yes, he's getting to the end of his career, but still decent right now. Onana, I love the kid. Wanted him before Everton got him.
Yeah.
Damari Gray, I think they paid just over £1 million for him from Germany in the end.
I think he's brilliant.
Yeah, I do.
I think under the right coach, and particularly somebody like Arteta, I think he could explode. But yeah, it was a difficult one because I think this Everton squad as a whole is quite poor when you look at it. So it was kind of, like I say, for me, I would have always picked Ramsdale over Pickford, but I could only have a certain number of outfield players from Everton.
It's a challenge.
It was, yeah, because it was tough. And like you say, with Coleman, it was like, ever reliable, top pro. So, and I mean, Tarkowski, got a bit of experience in there, 30 years old, knows the league. So it was kind of just like a lot of those were kind of like just kind of common sense strategic picks. But like the real excitement for me was Onana and Damari Gray. Not to say that, like for me, not to say that Damari Gray I would pick over like Trossard or Martinelli, but he's an exciting player. He's a player that I like to watch. He's got that in his locker, that kind of, match-winning performance. And Onana, yeah. I think, like you said, I liked him before Everton signed him. I was hoping that he was going to be an alternative to Caicedo in the January market. Maybe it's one to watch for the summer, who knows? But yeah, I think he comes in and I think he improves our squad and improves potentially our first 11 as well. I really like him. I think he just looks an absolute dominating force in that midfield, and he's young and he's only going to get better. So yeah, that would be the team. I mean, it's a competitive side. I'm not sure where it finishes in terms of a league table, but I think it could get. I mean, I think that team get
top 8 for me.
Yeah, top 6 at a push.
Yeah, top 8 minimum.
Yeah.
That's my expectations. Right, so well done, G. Obviously, next week people are going to have to start a bit of research. Because don't forget, I'll be doing a preview for the Europa game.
Yeah.
Exactly. So whoever's doing the preview with me next week, you better start doing your research, people.
I'm going to go and talk to my my previous line manager because he's Portuguese and he's a big, massive sporting fan. So I'm going to go and have a word with him.
Yeah. Guys, get your predictions in the comments. I'll do those once I get through these comments. It gives G some time to think about it as well. James is going to go on loan to the Man United agenda. Well, at least he didn't say Paxton Road, so it's not a bad option. Oh no, look, you love it because I know you've done it, Moss. I know I've seen your team. You may not like the challenge, but you do it every time. Would be good to be able to play differently now and again, though. G, yep, very true. Yep. Tony's gone with okay, got you. He's gone for the 5 best all time, I'm guessing. Is he gone for the best all time? I don't know now. Is he just thinking of 5 Everton players? Neville Southall, Alan Stubbs, Joseph Yobo, Gravison. Why did you the biggest waste of money? Him. No.
Oh gosh.
That just pains me.
Yeah. In the box.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Jeez, that just pains me. Right, Moss has done it. So let's see if he's stuck with the rules. Got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So he's right. So he's had to pick Pickford. He's gone for Coleman, Cody,
Yeah, it's not
The
much
Armoury
difference
grey.
in that team.
No, I've got to decide whose is better. Oh, it's hard actually, to be honest.
Yeah, it's quite similar. I mean, he's gone with the same goal.
That's actually close.
Yeah, because I went for Tarkowski, he went for Cody, so it's more or less like just different personnel, really.
That would be a good game to watch.
It would be.
That's all I'd say.
It would be.
Yeah. I actually couldn't decide who's gonna actually win that one.
Moss said he wins, so
well, Moss always says he wins. So I'm used to that. I'm the decider. I'm saying that's a draw. So
I think that's a fair result.
Because I think that is a very close one. Right. So I have Brenny. I have got your prediction. I'm just going to go through the ones. So Brenny's gone for a 3-0 to the Arsenal. Don't like toffees, nor do I. They get stuck in my teeth. James is already starting for the Sporting. James, if you're free next week, mate, feel free to jump on. It could be an interesting preview because obviously we're doing Sporting Lisbon next week. Tony, my word, the confidence is back from Tony. 5-0 because he did go for a 1-0 defeat against Villa. James has gone for 3-1. That's actually similar to mine. I'm thinking that's kind of what I'm thinking. 3 goals tomorrow. It's amazing to me too, G, that they do not play tomorrow. It's a travesty. Remember that goal. He's not. Yeah, exactly. Right, G, giving you time.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it come through, but I've got to stick to my guns because that was my instinct, and it was 3-0 Arsenal.
Okay.
Yeah, as soon as I saw Brenny put it in there, I was like, he came in there. But yeah, that's what I'm feeling going into tomorrow night's game.
Moss, you're going to love this, right? I was just going to write down your prediction, and I literally wrote Odegaard, not Moss, Odegaard. So I've just called you Odegaard on my piece of paper. Now I'm going to scrub it out and put Moss. So I was calling you Odegaard there. Moss has gone for 2-0. I find this hard, this one.
I want a clean sheet tomorrow night, you know. We're not keeping too many clean sheets at home, and I want a clean sheet.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to get one. But I then also have to think where they're going to get the goal from in the Everton lineup. That's the problem. I'm gonna go with Moss's score of 2-0, to be honest. I was thinking maybe 2-1, but yeah, it's 2-0. But it wouldn't shock me if it was 5-0. Really wouldn't.
Yeah, it really wouldn't.
They lost how many? They lost at home to, was it? Who did they lose to at the weekend, Everton?
I'd have to look it up.
Was it Villa?
Was it Villa?
2-0. I'm pretty sure I know they lost to someone last weekend.
They lost at home to Villa 2-0.
Yeah. So, yeah, I can't see where they're getting their goals from.
It's been very on and off. Like, I mean, they beat us, then they lost to Liverpool, then they beat Leeds, then they've lost to Villa. So, yeah, they're just on and off, innit?
Is that win-loss, win-loss?
Yeah.
So, technically, they should be due a win.
Yeah. But they're going to be like that, innit? Like, in that kind of dogfight at the bottom, it's not bad if you can, like, win 1 in 2 games. Like, I mean, do you know what I mean? Like, picking up wins before they were not picking up wins, were they? Whereas now, 4 games, I mean, he's got 50% win rate. It's better than what they had before.
Yeah, exactly. James saying it was Villa. Moss saying it was Villa. Was Brendier with a banging goal. Right. Thank you ever so much, G. Thank you ever so much for the comments. Before we wrap up, quickly want to just say what we're doing this week. I am back on Thursday with a Bournemouth fan for the preview lounge for the Bournemouth game, and I'm back on Friday with the Armoury lads. I think it's Brenny on Friday to do our preview as well. So I'll be back, and I'll be doing some watch-alongs at the weekend. Biggest one, everyone get ready for this one. Maidenhead versus Wrexham. If you want to see proper tackling, Moss, watch that with me, because honestly, I can't wait for that game. G, where will they find you, mate?
Yeah, man. So myself and Gumza are back tomorrow night for kind of reaction to the game. I think that's at 9:45, sometime between like kind of 9:45 and 10 p.m. So watch out for that. But yeah, you can just catch me on the socials, really. Obviously, for whatever reason, if you haven't liked the stream, like it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, we're only a couple of subscribers away from the 900 mark. So it'd be great if we could get over the line tonight. Other than that, you can find me on Twitter and stuff like that. Not been massively active recently, just been busy with work and going gym and whatnot, and kids and family and you know the whole shebang. But yeah, if you want to interact with me, my @s on the screen is @1G Williams, and I do most of my interacting on Twitter.
Thank you very much, mate. But as we'll be back tomorrow, Gumza and G. I'll be back on Thursday, Friday, and I'll be back next week because it's going to be just non-stop games now coming up. We're going to be busy. There'll be previews every week. So yeah, I will definitely see you soon. I'll definitely see G soon. And as always, come on, you Gunners.
Yeah.